What's up, everybody? This is Josh E. Red for Practical Theism. Today's gospel reflection before we head into work here is from John 8, where Christ claims to be the light of the world, and whoever follows him will not be in darkness, but will have the light of life. There's a lot that I think he could dive into when we talk about the imagery behind light and darkness and the fact that Christ is the light. And those who take after him, after his, not just his way of life, but his cross, and have a relationship with Jesus, they have seen the light, or they operate in the light. What is this play between light and darkness? I think we see this all across human experience, right? We see this good versus evil, imagery, light versus darkness, this idea of not seeing, but then you can see. You see this all the time with people who have these realizations, these midlife, maybe even a midlife crisis, where they were looking at something through a lens one way, and then all of a sudden something happens and they look at life through a different lens, and it's as if the scales have been removed. It's as if the light has entered in and permeated in. This new way of being has been realized and actualized. And I think some of that's one aspect of what we see on display here when talking about Christ as the light. When one understands who Christ is as the Son of God, and what that means in conjunction of all human history and the God of the universe penetrating into the human existence by becoming incarnate, becoming a man, and the full actualization of all the prophetic, texts of the Old Testament. What we see on display here is an ushering in of a new being for humanity when one accepts that relationship, picks up their cross, follows Christ in his walk, and mirrors the true way of love, right? Because it all boils down to what God is by his nature, and that is that God is love. And so love by necessity in this world does not look like what we think. Love, we often think that to be successful in this world, the way of light in this world is self-actualization, right? The idea that, we get to the highest peak of success in human existence, and with wealth, power, pleasure, whatever it might be. And that's what's ultimately going to satisfy us, make us fully alive, free us up to have everything that we need. But these things are finite in their capacity and their availability. And so God comes in and shows us the way of the cross, all the way down to sacrificing himself on a cross. So from a practical sense, that is what true love looks like in the spiritual order. It looks to us like death on a cross, but to God it's the ultimate act of love, because it's life-giving to those who are your friends and to those around you. And so I think that's something that we got to take away and look at from that perspective, just in terms of our walk, in terms of the direction that we're leading our lives and who we're really following after. But it also introduces, kind of a really interesting play. I've been thinking about this a lot, this play in terms of the relationship. What does it mean to have a relationship with someone, or a relationship with Jesus? We say Jesus is the truth, and we say the way, the way, the truth, and the life, right? We say Jesus is truth. God is truth. God is goodness. God is love. How do you have a relationship with like a spiritual quality? It's easy to look at a relationship like I'm sitting next to my wife, or a tangible person down here. I can have a relationship with them. I have conversations with them. I can touch them. I can hug them. They're right there in front of me. There's something physical about it. But now we're talking about a different aspect of relationship, I think, sometimes, in terms of something that is spiritual. Not just spiritual, but not tangible, not material down here. Christ no longer walks the earth, so he isn't down here for us to have a relationship with him in the same way that we would have a relationship with my spouse or my friend. And that doesn't mean that there's no relationship. I just think what I've been thinking about is how that relationship actually makes sense, because and how we make sense of it, because we can have a relationship with intangible things all the time, right? We have a relationship in a sense with air or with wind, with a relationship in the sense of the effect and impact that it has on us. We can have a relationship with, the idea of love, maybe. because love it's not tangible, but it's a play that can affect us and how we operate. Likewise, we could have a relationship with truth. We can have a relationship in terms of our proximity to it, and how we operate with it. And so I think all these things kind of come to play when it comes to our relationship with God and with Christ. I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot. It's very new, so pardon my heretical comments if they come across that way. But I've been wanting to understand a bit more about this relationship and what it means and how I might potentially articulate it. And I think in a relationship with Christ, it's like, yes, through prayer, through the innermost part of our being, when we quiet ourselves down and we really kind of get to a place where we are present with God, who enters into our soul in such a way that's non-competitive, and it's in the still of our hearts that we find our innermost peace with God, and we can have a conversation with him. You'd be surprised at how your thoughts potentially might change, how thoughts change and enter into your head that would not be there otherwise. That prayer process is one aspect of our relationship with God. So anyways, I don't know, I've been thinking about that a lot, so I'll continue to think on that and pray on it. It's really interesting, though, once you really get into it. But through that relationship, we all of a sudden can move from darkness to light as our mind expands and our just our viewpoint on life changes. And very quickly, I had when I was going through a big bulk of my spiritual journey, like on the beginning, like it was a good example of an opportunity where my mind opened up, and all of a sudden I started to see things I wasn't seeing before. In one sense, you can say I moved into the light and started seeing the light because I saw life in a different capacity. We could dive into more specifics on that in a future video, but anyway, I just want to throw my thoughts down. Hope everybody's having a great day. Hit that like button, pound the subscribe button like you mean it, so you can get more awesome content. And from all of us here at Practical Theism, we'll catch you next time.